The pleasure secret. No one talks about and why it's costing you more than you think. Have you ever felt like, no matter how much effort you put in, something still feels off in your intimate life? Maybe you've noticed the little things, her distant expressions, the way she's there, but not really there. Or maybe it's the silence afterward, the way she finishes on her own. It's frustrating, isn't it? You want to be the kind of lover who leaves her breathless, the kind she can't stop thinking about, but something isn't clicking. Here's what most men never realize. Passion isn't just about technique. It's not about stamina or performance. It's about understanding what really ignites desire on a psychological level. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. We're diving deep into 5 powerful techniques that will completely transform the way your partner experiences pleasure. And these aren't just tricks or quick tips. They're grounded in psychology, human biology, and even the wisdom of ancient thinkers who understood desire better than most people today. By the time we're done, you'll have a completely different perspective on what it really takes to create pleasure that lingers long after the moment has passed. The art of extreme slowness. Most men believe pleasure comes from intensity, that the faster, harder, and more vigorous the experience, the better. But here's where they're dead wrong. True pleasure thrives in slowness. Imagine this. Your partner isn't just looking for a physical release, she craves something deeper, something that lets her fully surrender to the moment. And nothing does that better than a slow, deliberate approach that keeps her right on the edge of pleasure. Let me tell you about Letitia, 52. She was in a happy marriage, emotionally connected to her husband, but something was missing. The spark had dimmed. It wasn't until her husband started practicing extreme slowness that she experienced a new kind of pleasure. It wasn't just about the physical feeling, she admitted. It was like time slowed down. Every touch felt intentional. Like I wasn't just being satisfied, I was being desired. And science backs this up. Renowned sex therapist Ian Kerner, author of She Comes First, explains that female arousal builds like a slow burning fire. Unlike men, whose desire can spike instantly, a woman's pleasure intensifies over time. Neuroscientists studying female sexuality found that when a woman is stimulated slowly, her brain releases higher levels of dopamine and oxytocin, the 2 key hormones responsible for pleasure and deep emotional bonding. This means that when you take your time, you're not just giving her a physical experience. You're rewiring her brain to associate your touch with trust, connection, and an irresistible craving. But here's the catch. Slowness isn't just about moving at a snail's pace. It's about presence, intention, anticipation, and if you get this right, she won't just want you, she'll need you. The hidden secret of pleasure and why most men get it all wrong. You ever notice how the best moments in life, the ones that really stick with you, aren't the loud, over-the-top ones? They're the ones that sneak up on you, the ones where time slows down and every second just lingers a little longer. Now, what if I told you? Pleasure works the same way. Most men think it's all about going faster, harder, stronger, but the truth, the real secret, it's the exact opposite. Let me explain. The art of the pause. Why doing nothing drives her wild picture. This, things are heating up. Her breathing shifts. She's completely locked in. And then you stop. No movement, no sound, just stillness. A second passes, then another. Her body tenses. Her breath catches. Suddenly, she's craving the next touch 10 times more than before.
Why? Because her brain is catching up to her body, and that anticipation? It's everything. Psychologists call this pleasure pacing, letting desire build until it's unbearable, and science backs it up. When you slow down, her brain floods with dopamine, turning what could have been just another moment into something unforgettable. So, next time, pause. Hold still when things are at their peak. Let her feel the space between touches. Watch what happens. It's not about racing to the finish. It's about making every second feel like it could last forever. The silent connection. Why words? Kill the moment. Think back to the most intense, intimate moments you've had. Were they filled with words? Or was it something else? Something unspoken? Most guys assume talking makes things better. They think narrating the moment or saying more is the key. Wrong. The most powerful moments aren't filled with words, they're felt. Maria, 55, once said the most unforgettable nights of her life were spent in complete silence. I didn't need to hear anything, she said. I felt everything. And the experts agree. Esther Perel, one of the biggest names in intimacy, says mystery fuels desire. And nothing creates mystery like silence. But silence doesn't mean distance, it means presence. Try this. Next time, don't speak. Just lock eyes. Let your gaze say everything. You'll feel it, an invisible pull between you where every movement carries more weight. Because silence isn't empty, it's full of meaning. The pause and observe. Technique, the shortcut to uncontrollable desire. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Most people rush through intimacy like they're following a script. Step 1, step 2, done. Predictable, expected. But what if I told you? Stopping at the right moment could create more pleasure than continuous movement. This is what I call the pause and observe technique. Imagine you're caught up in an intense moment. Instead of continuing, you freeze. No movement, no sound, just stillness. What happens next? Her body reacts instinctively. Her breath deepens. Her muscles tighten. Her mind floods with desire for what comes next. Sexologist David Shark explains that when you pause, you give her brain a moment to catch up to the physical sensations. And that makes everything feel 10 times more intense. But there's more. A well-timed pause sends a powerful message. You're in control of the moment. You're not rushing. You're savoring. And that kind of patience, unbelievably attractive. Next time, try this. At the peak of intensity, stop, watch her, let her feel the anticipation. Then, when the moment is right, continue. You'll see exactly why this technique is a game changer. The circle of pleasure. Breaking free from the straight line mentality. Most men treat pleasure like a straight line. Start here, finish there. But the truth, it's a loop, a cycle of build-up, anticipation, and release. And those who master that loop, they become unforgettable. So the question is, are you going to keep doing what everyone else does? Or are you going to master the art of pleasure that lasts? Your move. The pleasure lie you've been sold, and why most men get it. Completely wrong. Most men assume pleasure follows a straight road, starting at point A, moving forward in a predictable rhythm, and ending in an inevitable peak. A formula, a routine, something to check off the list. But what if I told you? That entire way of thinking is the reason you've barely scratched the surface of what's possible. For women, especially mature women, pleasure isn't a straight line. It's not a race to some grand finale. It's layered, cyclical, and thrives on variation in movement, rhythm, and most importantly, anticipation. And that's exactly why circular movement, a technique that introduces fluid, multi-directional motion, can unlock an entirely new level of sensation. The pattern that's ruining everything. Maria, 58, had been in long-term relationships and casual encounters alike, and in all that time, most of her partners followed the exact same predictable script, repetitive motion, the same rhythm, the same routine, every single time. But then one partner did something different. For the first time, she experienced someone who moved in circles, varying speed, shifting pressure, creating a sensation that felt alive. Her words? I had no idea my body could even feel this way. It was like discovering an entirely new dimension of pleasure I never knew existed. That wasn't just in her head. The science of sensation. Why routine kills. Pleasure. Here's the thing. Your body doesn't experience pleasure uniformly. Every nerve ending, every muscle, every touch-sensitive zone reacts differently depending on the stimulation it receives. A repetitive, linear motion. It gets old fast. The body adjusts. The sensitivity numbs. But when you introduce circular movements, constantly shifting pressure and speed, you activate a richer spectrum of nerve endings. Instead of her body going on autopilot, every second feels new. This concept is rooted in neuroscience. Psychotherapist Jack Morin, in his book The Sensual Mind, explains that pleasure is at its peak when it defies expectations, when it takes unexpected turns and creates patterns that keep both the mind and body fully engaged. Straight line movements, they signal predictability. Circular, varied movements, they trigger curiosity, excitement, and deepened physical response. The pleasure loop technique, how to trigger her deepest desire. It's simple. Ditch the back and forth motion. Move fluidly. Think circles, spirals, unpredictable shifts. Vary the speed. Slow, then fast. A pause. Then slow again. Keep her guessing. Never let her fully predict the next sensation. This does more than just stimulate her body. It stimulates her mind. And that's where real, unforgettable pleasure lives, especially for mature women. They've been through their share of rushed encounters, of mechanical routines that feel more like transactions than passion. But when you break that pattern, when you introduce a rhythm that feels exploratory, intentional, and full of discovery, you create a sensation so rare, she won't stop thinking about it. The psychology of the unfinished ending, why leaving her wanting more, changes. Everything. Here's another pleasure myth most people blindly accept, that every encounter must end in an explosive, cinematic peak, as if that's the measure of success. But what if I told you that stopping just before the final moment could actually create deeper desire, a stronger connection, and leave her thinking about you long after the moment has passed? Beatrice, 57, once confided about a revelation she had in her relationship. My partner used to think the big finish was the only goal, but when we started experimenting with stopping just before, she paused, smiling. It changed everything. Why? Because when you leave something unfinished, the brain fixates on it. It keeps craving closure. It keeps wanting more. That's the trick most men will never understand. Desire isn't about what you give. It's about what you withhold. And once you master that, you won't just be remembered. You'll be unforgettable. The pleasure that lingers. And why most men get it completely wrong. There's a moment just before everything changes, a split second where time slows down, where the anticipation is electric. And what if I told you that moment is the key to everything? Most people rush past it. They think pleasure is a finish line, a goal to reach, check off, and move on from. But the truth, the real power isn't in the ending. It's in the pause, because when you stretch that moment, when you hold back just a little longer, something incredible happens. Instead of pleasure fading, it lingers, for hours, even days. Psychologist Barry McCarthy explains that anticipation is one of the strongest triggers of desire. When an experience is left unresolved, the brain keeps replaying it. Dopamine stays high. The mind stays hooked. Ever notice how a cliffhanger in a movie leaves you restless? How it lingers in your thoughts? Because unfinished moments don't just end, they echo. Now, imagine applying that to intimacy. Why holding back creates more than just pleasure. For most mature women, pleasure isn't just about the act, it's about the build-up, the tension, the anticipation. And this is where most men get it wrong. They think the goal is satisfaction, when in reality it's about how long you can keep her wanting more. Maria, 58, once admitted something interesting. For years, everything felt predictable, the same rhythm, the same routine. But then, one night, it didn't end the way I expected. And that night, it stayed with me for days. Because when you slow down, when you resist the urge to rush, you're not just giving pleasure. You're making it last. This isn't about frustration. It's about intensification. The tension builds. The mind stays engaged. Every touch, every breath magnified. The power of not yet. So how do you actually apply this? Simple. Timing. When things build up, don't race to the finish. Pause. Let it breathe.
Whisper, not yet. Hold her close, but don't give in just yet. Watch her body react. That slight ache? That's not discomfort. That's desire heightening. Because here's the secret. It's not just about pleasure. It's about connection. And when you master the psychology of the unfinished ending, you don't just create a moment. You create a memory. What comes next will change everything. By now, we've uncovered some of the most overlooked yet powerful techniques that redefine intimacy. Extreme slowness, the silent connection, the pause and observe method, circular movement, the psychology of the unfinished ending. Each one does more than just create pleasure. It creates lasting impact. But we're not done yet, because what comes next, it's the most powerful, almost forbidden technique of all, one that changes the way she experiences pleasure, both physically and psychologically. And trust me, once you learn this, she'll never forget it. Stay with me, because the best is yet to come. The one thing that changes everything. You ever notice how some moments just change you? Not because of what you did, but because of what you let go of. See, when it comes to deep, unforgettable connection, most people get it wrong. It's not about technique, not about timing, and definitely not about doing more. It's about total surrender. And when done right, it's the most powerful, mind-altering experience there is. Why letting go changes everything? Here's the thing. Many women, especially those who've spent decades making decisions, managing responsibilities, and carrying emotional weight, secretly crave the ability to just let go. Not in the way the media shows. Not about power. Not about control. Something deeper. Freedom. A space where she doesn't have to think, doesn't have to worry, doesn't have to hold back. A space where she can just be. Now, meet Angela. 54 years old, married for 2 decades. Life was fine, comfortable, predictable, until one night, something shifted. She told me, I didn't realize how much I was holding back until I experienced what it felt like to truly let go. For years, I was in my head, wondering how I looked, if I was doing things right, if my partner was enjoying it. But the moment I felt completely safe, completely seen, everything changed. I didn't just feel pleasure, I felt free. And that's the difference. Because when a woman reaches this state of uninhibited surrender, her connection to you deepens in a way that goes far beyond the physical. It rewires everything. But here's the catch. Surrender isn't something you take. It's something you earn. A woman will only let go when she feels completely safe, emotionally, mentally, physically, and that is where most men get it wrong. It's not about being forceful. It's about being decisive, present, and attuned. Every small detail matters. the way you hold her, the way you move with purpose, not hesitation, the way you slow down and savor her every reaction, instead of rushing through the moment. Because when she feels your certainty, when she knows you are fully focused on her experience, something incredible happens. She begins to surrender naturally. How to guide her into surrender. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. There are two insanely powerful techniques to encourage surrender, ones that work almost instantly. One, the breath connection. Most people don't realize this, but pleasure and breathing are directly linked. Ever notice how, in moments of tension, people hold their breath? That's the body resisting. By subtly guiding her breathing, slowing it down, deepening it, you help her body release tension and enter a state where pleasure flows freely. This small but powerful detail? It's the difference between a good experience and a mind-blowing one. 2. The unexpected factor. Predictability kills excitement. Discovery? It fuels it. One of the most effective ways to encourage surrender is by introducing elements of anticipation and surprise. This could be as simple as check changing the rhythm unexpectedly, pausing at the peak of a moment, stretching out the tension, introducing sensory shifts, like a blindfold, to heighten awareness. The key? Keep her guessing, keep her engaged, make her hyper-aware of every sensation, because the moment she stops thinking, stops planning, stops predicting, that's when she truly lets go. And once she experiences that level of connection, she'll never forget it. The secret no one tells you about true intimacy. She wasn't just lost in the moment. She was consumed by it, completely surrendering, fully immersed, as if time itself had disappeared. And here's the wild part. Neuroscience backs this up. Studies show that when someone enters a true flow state, where distractions vanish and they're totally absorbed, the brain floods with dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. These are the same chemicals responsible for deep love, trust, and the kind of pleasure that leaves a permanent mark. See, surrender isn't just about the body. It's psychological, it's emotional, and when it happens the right way, the experience isn't just intense, it's unforgettable, the aftershock of total surrender. But here's what no one tells you. What happens after the moment is even more powerful, because once a woman experiences this level of surrender, she doesn't just remember it, she relives it. The feeling of being utterly free, completely consumed, lost in pleasure, it stays with her, and every time she thinks about it, every time that sensation lingers in the back of her mind, her desire for you intensifies. This isn't just about attraction anymore, it's imprinted. The game-changing techniques that make it happen now. Let's talk about the exact techniques that take intimacy from routine to something that lingers in her mind long after it's over. Extreme slowness, mastering the art of patience, stretching every second, building unbearable anticipation, the silent connection, tuning into body language and unspoken energy, instead of relying on words. Pause and observe, learning when to stop, and let the tension do the work, creating explosive chemistry. Circular motion, breaking free from predictable patterns, and introducing multi-directional movements for heightened sensation. The unfinished ending, avoiding predictable conclusions, leaving desire lingering. Total surrender, creating a space where she feels so safe, so seen, so desired that she lets go completely, experiencing deeper pleasure than ever before. But let's be real, this isn't about tricks. These aren't just moves you memorize. This is about understanding human nature, because the difference between a night she forgets and one that changes everything, it's not about performance, it's about presence, what she'll never forget. At the end of the day, it's simple. The way you make a woman feel is what defines your connection. If she feels seen, if she feels desired, if she feels like she can be herself completely, without hesitation or fear, she will never forget you. If this is your first time thinking about intimacy on this level, take your time, experiment, pay attention, because every woman is different, and the real magic, it's in discovering what makes her feel the most alive. And now, let's hear from you. What's the most mind-blowing realization you've had about intimacy? Drop your thoughts below, and let's keep this conversation going, because this is just the beginning.